What's that noise? Oh, twice! Twice! What do we got here? Why, hello, ladies and fellas. Now, there's a reason that I'm introducing things this way for this stack of items, which just sold for $225. What we've got here are 56 American Girl magazines from the 1940s. Starts off in 1942, and you'll see here, some of them have damage, separated covers. It's okay. Even back covers missing, rips, stuff like that. Sometimes people might pass things up like that because they think it's too much damage, but when it's old stuff like this and it's desirable and there's not much of it around, people will still take it with the damage, especially when you have really cool covers like this to look at. So this was a publication that was made for girls, young ladies, and it was published through the Girl Scouts. And, you know, this is something really important back in the day for young women. You know, so many things were male-centric. So for, young girls to have something like this to look at, magazine had all sorts of, just interesting articles, stories in here. There were fashion pieces, all sorts of cool ads that would appeal to them. So all sorts of neat stuff in there. So $225 sale, and it went international. That's a key thing. People who are international have even less access to something like this than people in the United States. So they will pay up for it. Person paid full price. So a lot of times hold off for that international buyer. And the reason why I said, hey, fellas, don't ignore stuff that's designed just for the ladies. Pay attention to that stuff because, as you can see here, it could pay big money. Now, there's a fictional character who you should definitely be on the lookout for because I've done very well over the years reselling items with his likeness on it. We're talking about Indiana Jones, folks. This book right here from 1996 just sold for $75. I have less than $1 into it from a storage unit buyout where I got a lot of comic books and role-playing game books like this. I have other Indiana Jones role-playing game books as well, and I just list them all at the same time about. So when you look inside these types of books, what you'll see in what we call RPG books, or again, role-playing game books, you usually see some type of illustration. Most of the time, these books are black and white inside, not often color. You'll see all sorts of narratives about storylines in the games, and you'll see point values often assigned, and you'll also see maps. Maps are very common. Sometimes they're pull-out maps as well. Don't worry if you come across a book like this and it has some color loss or creases and stuff. It will still sell well, especially if it's vintage Indiana Jones. What's that noise? Oh, twice! What do we got here? Oh, look at this. This one just sold for $70, and this one just sold for $50 to the same buyer on the same day. That's $1 a piece. These were sourced at a garage sale, flipped into $120 just from picking up Indiana Jones role-playing game books. Wow, I just finished my third comic book auction on Whatnot, and it did not disappoint. One of the books that sold was this one right here, resulted in a $550 sale. I have had this book listed on eBay for months and months and months, and it resulted in a lot of watchers, 10 watchers. But you know what? Watchers don't mean money unless they actually are serious and want to buy it. That's why I keep talking about Whatnot so much, because it takes you directly to people who are serious about buying your item and getting it quickly. So this person who bought it tonight, shout out to What's the Girls, that's the username on Whatnot, who bought it. Bought this in about 60 seconds after I posted it on the auction stream. Now, this was listed as a buy it now. Not everything has to be auctioned. What am I talking about right here? We're talking about Fantasy Masterpieces #2 from 1966. I actually bought this myself at a different online auction for $241. So this results in a nice profit. What about this drew me to it, made me want to purchase it? Number one, I love the vintage stuff, so it's really cool. 1966, you got a whole bunch of cool characters on here. You have Fin Fang Foom here as well. Well, Stan Lee signed this book, and he signed it right there in the center next to Fin Fang Foom. So that creates some significance right there historically. The other thing is that you see it's graded, it's encapsulated by CGC, it's graded as a 7.0 out of 10. This, if you look it up on the CGC official registry, you will find that this is the single highest signed graded copy of this book ever by CGC. And it will always be the single highest graded signed book by Stan Lee, because Stan Lee passed away and no one else could possibly have a higher copy, because since Stan Lee passed away and CGC requires that they see the signature when it happens to verify it, then whoever has this is going to have a very valuable book that's going to keep appreciating in value. Other things I liked about it is mention of Jack Kirby right there, famous comic book artist. Don Heck is another one. And then we have the famous Steve Ditko mentioned down below. So there's lots of things that really made this book stand out. And those are the types of things I look into. And I'm not scared to put in that investment because it could bring in a nice return down the road. All right, quick update on this Rolling Stone newspaper from 1970. Now, initially, at first glance, you might think that it's valuable because it has John Lennon and Yoko Ono on the cover, but that's not what really makes this valuable. What makes it valuable is the backside. So always make sure you are checking the backsides of the Rolling Stone newspapers. This one just sold for $50 because it actually shows right there. You can see the circle right here. That is Meredith Hunter. He was stabbed to death by one of the Hells Angels, and you can see the Rolling Stones. There's Mick Jagger right there. They're on the concert floor while this whole thing happens, right on the stage. And it was a whole big thing at Altamont Theater. I've covered it in prior videos, but just wanted to show you the final completed sale on this. If you're interested in learning more about this entire collection of Rolling Stone newspapers and magazines I got, click the link up top. All right, now it's time for a Mrs. Primetime find. She did a really good job selling 4 pins for $62 to the same customer. And there's something important about these pins that you need to know if you ever see them. So I'm going to bring this one up close, and what you can see there is it says OOTM on it. That stands for Odyssey of the Mind. What the heck is Odyssey of the Mind? Odyssey of the Mind is a competition. It's an organization that is designed to help kids get involved in these creative problem-solving competitions, to stimulate the mind to do things beyond the classroom. So this is a anniversary pin right here. So they meet up at these big meetups, and one of the things they love to do is to trade pins. Like, look at this really cool dragon pin right here. Now, you do have a mascot. He is known as Omer, O-M-E-R, and he looks like a raccoon because he is a raccoon. Raccoons are known to be creative and resourceful. So there's a lot of people involved in this who do STEM, and you'll see that on some of the pins. So STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So she bought these in a big lot in Shop Goodwill. She's got like over 100 of them, and she got them for like $30 because most people just didn't know what the heck that they were. And so she's selling these things like hotcakes. It's crazy. So she's got more in the store, but she's thrilled. Those for $62. Well, did it again. Sold another lot of these Japanese animation books for a great profit. I got them for 50 cents a piece. There's 10 of them total. I showed myself sourcing them in a prior video. They sold tonight for $95, so almost $100 sale. The title that you want to look for is Mobile Suit Gundam. That's the key. Now, one of the things that really helped with the value of these books is that If you look on the bottom, you're going to see the volume numbers, and we go volumes 1 through 9. So collectors love that. They love consecutiveness, because when they start reading the story, then there's no gaps in there that they have to worry about. Now, if there happen to be more volumes in the series, people will still buy them depending on where your price point is at, because then they could just go get those other ones later, and they might not have all the money right then and there to get that full set, depending on how big it is. Now, this one on the bottom is the only one that doesn't have a volume number on it. That's because it's not part of this storyline, but it's still the same title, Mobile Suit Gundam. So still pick things like that up and throw it into the lot, because it helps add value and helps make the sale. Now, one other thing to point out with these is that some of them have a name written inside. You'll see that right over here. And if you wanted, by the way, to just see what it looks like inside, it's Japanese animation with English text. But something like this, a name or a little inscription, if it's in a popular book, if it's a hard to find book, if it's out of print, that type of thing, if people really want it, they're still gonna pick it up. They're just gonna ignore the name, or they'll cover it up in some way. If it happens to be one of these books that doesn't have a lot of demand to it, and there's a bunch of them on the market that don't have names inside of them, well then, if I saw ones with names in it, that would be a reason to make me pass on it. But not something like this. Still pick something like that up. Prime time. Hey, what are you doing? I said don't talk on the video when I'm not there. You might say something embarrassing. Wait, what? For those of you who are new, this is my new friend, the Not So Little Mermaid. So just getting her used to the rules and everything. But what? You didn't say it? Well, who did? Oh, in there? Oh, I think I know. Hold on. Wait till you see what's inside here. Actually, if you watch my last auction, you might have seen it. But what we've got inside here is a really cool, oh my gosh, I'm going to tease you a little bit here. Check out the back of this one. We got cheetah print. Play that saxophone music. But as much as I love the back of this, what I really love is the front of it. That's right. We've got popular jokes. Now, this is actually not a comic book. It really is a joke magazine. And those can get graded by CGC, which is the most popular company that grades comic books, but they grade other things as well, and they'll encapsulate them inside of this plastic sheath that you see here. So this actually is the single highest grade that this particular book has ever gotten, a magazine. It's from 1971. And what really drew me to it, besides the vintageness of it, is the lady on the front. I've always said this, sexy sells. And not that I came up with that concept, but it's part of my business model, and I love investing in magazines like this or comic books like this. I love the good girl art right here. It's just so awesome. She's just like dressed like a diva, and she's kind of leaving this guy in the dust. Her outfit is awesome. Her pumps are awesome. Her color combination is incredible. And here's the thing that I could guarantee you, or almost guarantee you, is that there's going to be some guy out there who's going to pay up for this because he wants to display it somewhere on his wall and he wants people to see it. Now, one of the things that also led me to invest $71 into this issue a few months ago on an online auction is that the cover art was done by none other than Bill Ward. Bill Ward is very famous for doing this type of good girl art. That's what they call it. If you do a comp search on eBay for Bill Ward art, you'll see that it goes for a lot of money. So you could use that information to make the inference that if that goes for a lot of money, well, if we have some type of magazine with his art on the cover and the art really stands out in some way, which pretty much all of his does, and it's single highest graded, got it in the slab, plus we have a really cool image on the back, that this should be something that's a potentially good investment that we could flip that other people might miss. So invested the $71, flipped it a few months later for $175. I'm happy for that. And I'm really happy for the guy who got this, who's going to display it in his man cave. All right, time for a blast from the past here. Let me know in the comment section how many of you remember me showing you this rock newspaper from 1973 with Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin on the cover. Now, I got this as part of a bulk deal at the Madison Bountiful Antique Festival here in central New York. So I wound up paying ultimately around several dollars for this and sold it tonight for 60 bucks. That's because this is a rare newspaper. They made it in New York City. There is not much known about it. The person that I bought it from had got it at an estate sale. He knew that it was rare as well, but he didn't know a value. And frankly, neither did I, because there was no comps on it, and even a Google search tells very little about it. Now, this is one of them. There were many others, as I will show you here and just refresh your memory if you saw them before. So what to do about an item like this when you just don't really know what the value is? Well, you could put it up for auction, but the problem with that is, what if the person who would be looking for that particular one with Jimmy Page on it, like a Led Zeppelin fan who would pay up for it, just wasn't around that week searching for it? That would be a problem. So what I did is I just priced it high. I started it at $100 and I just kept it there, and I just lowered it a little bit over time. And so it was up to 80 bucks. And then what happened is that I got an offer for $50. And so I counter offered halfway at $64.99. And the person sent me another offer for 60 bucks. And I felt that was a fair price for it. So I took $60. And what that helps me with is that now I have what I would call an anchor point to price these other ones at. So I would start the other ones at $60 or less, depending on what's on the cover. And I feel like, given that it was up for a while, that now I've established a market value price for all of these. So it's going to be either 60 bucks or less. So, we'll see what happens with it. Again, so many cool covers, and this is just a great deal. So I was hesitant to put the other ones up until I got a value on that one. And so now all of these are going to start going up soon. Of all the nights for my Popeye t-shirt to be in the hamper, it had to be tonight, of course. I would have loved to have worn it to celebrate this awesome $140 sale that I made tonight on eBay. And this is original Popeye animation production art. Now, this dates back to the 1940s. It doesn't say 1940s anywhere on here, but it doesn't always have to say the date for you to be able to date it to a particular time period. The reason that we know that this dates back to the 1940s, it's one of the reasons I invested $56 into this piece at an online art auction, is because of the signature here, which adds value to it. It's signed by Phil DiPiola, and he is the person who did these types of animation drawings back in the 1940s. That's the time frame. So I'm really happy with this. This is the type of thing that a collector would love to frame and display, and I always say that in my listings will look amazing in a frame. You could see here that there's a little bit of blue on here and also on the anchor, so it's a nice little touch, a nice little color touch in there. And you can see he's like wading in the water a bit. And you could also see there's some, some information here about scaling. And usually there's like some little numbers that are drawn on there for the production art pieces. So I always love investing in production art. It's one of the things you definitely should look into. And I like investing into things that I love. I grew up watching Popeye cartoons. That's one of the reasons why I've worn that shirt that you've seen many times on the channel. And so, invest in what you love, sell what you love. It's a great way to make making money fun.